In this video, we will be using bond energies to calculate the enthalpy change for a reaction. Bond energies are the energy that could be released or required to break or make bonds. Bond energy is always listed as positive. It's expressed in units of kilojoules per mole, and you will find bond energies in a data table. So this data table comes from your workbook on page 129. We're going to use this equation. Enthalpy change is equal to the sum of all the bonds broken minus the sum of all the bonds formed. And those values you're going to obtain in this table here. Bond breaking requires energy. It's an endothermic process, while bond forming releases energy. It is an exothermic process. The balance of these two, the breaking and the forming, will determine whether or not your overall enthalpy change is positive or negative. We're going to do practice number 1 from page 130. So here's the balanced chemical equation, and we've drawn out those molecules. And why do we do this? It is easier to see how many of each type of bond we're breaking. So here we can see we're breaking 2 single bonds between hydrogen and hydrogen. We are breaking 1 double bond between oxygen and oxygen, and we are going to end up breaking 1, 2, 3, 4 oxygen-hydrogen bonds. So we need to keep that in mind, because when we are completing this equation, filling in the values, we need to make sure that we are multiplying by the correct number of those bonds that we're either breaking or forming. So when we put our values in from the table on the previous page, we see that we have 2 moles of the hydrogen bonds, and there's the value from the table. 1 mole of that oxygen-oxygen double bond, and that value again comes from the table, minus 4 times those 4 bonds that would be made in the water molecules. Our resulting enthalpy change is negative 509 kilojoules, and that is a negative value, so this is an exothermic process overall. The next practice problem is from page 130. This is the balanced equation right here. And and we've drawn out the molecules as such. We can see that we have 1 triple bond between nitrogen and nitrogen. So you'll go to that table and you'll find that value. We have 3 single bonds between hydrogen atoms to make the hydrogen molecules, and we're going to find that in the table as well. And then for each of these molecules, we've got 3 nitrogen-hydrogen bonds that we are going to form. And so we're going to find those values in the table as well. So we find those values and we fill in, we use the equation bonds broken minus bonds made. We substitute them in, making sure that the values that we're using are the correct values for the number of bonds that we're breaking of that type or making of that type. And we come up with an answer. We've got negative 109 kilojoules is the enthalpy change for this reaction of nitrogen reacting with hydrogen to give us ammonia. So that is using bond energies to calculate enthalpy change for a reaction.